If you're a heat and air conditioning technician or even a salesperson, why and how do you get to an objection early in your sales process? And why does it matter? This is a super important question. I'm Sylvan Bell, coming to you live from Sacramento, California for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets. Okay, as a salesperson, as a technician, as a service provider, one of the toughest things to do is to go through your whole entire process and then get an objection that you're not expecting to get. And so there are millions of ways to overcome objections. There's lots of training out there. There's lots of concepts, but I want to share with you some of my favorite ways. And I'm going to say, hey, if your personality is a little bit different than mine, then adopt it, make some changes, do what's necessary. And if it's outside of your comfort zone, look for ways to change the questions to work to your favor. And if it's inside your comfort zone, figure out how to make it work. And if you're like, Scott, I'm way more aggressive than you, freaking congratulations, modify the questions to make them more aggressive. So here's the thing. This happens with patients. You are going to want to take your time with this, and you're going to want to move it up earlier into the sales process. So if we're going to generically go through and label a sales process, we've got the intro phase, we've got the rapport phase, we've got the discovery phase, the presentation phase, the closing phase, negotiation phase, closing to deal with objections. You're going to want to move it down here to like the discovery phase, because that's where it's still interesting after you've built rapport and you're having some fun, right? You haven't rolled information, you haven't rolled price, and just realize you may hit some log jams and it may take some time, and you may have to work with your ego a bit and say, hey, I don't have to have this right about now. And you may have to take some of these questions and 3+ them. And 3+ comes from Jim Camp. One of my favorite books, Start With No by Jim Camp, talks about asking a question in 3 different ways. And the reason you do that is sometimes it just doesn't connect with the person, and sometimes it just doesn't work. And there are times where you just have to sit there and be quiet for 15, 20, 30 seconds after you ask the question. And this right here is why you should join my email publication. I'll give you the goods, not the Facebook group, not the YouTube channel, okay? So we're gonna remove the ego. We're gonna put this somewhere around the discovery phase, and I'm gonna give you a list of 5 questions or statements that you could use to adapt whatever way that you want. What's your ideal outcome when it comes to price, right? What could be your ideal outcome when it comes to price? And you probably will have somebody like, well, I don't know. Like, you could give them some ranges. And sometimes those ranges freak people out. Do you have a price or budget expectation for this project? Did you have a price or budget expectation that you wanted to live within? Is there a price or a budget that you have set aside? Knowing that this is going to cost some moolah, it's going to cost some money, is there a budget that you wanted to fit this within? Okay. Who else needs to be involved? Every single one of us, including me, right, has gotten to the end of a presentation and they're like, well, I got to talk to my rich uncle. Well, I got to talk to somebody else who actually owns this situation. Okay. One of my favorite questions is, at the end of the day, what would prevent us from moving forward? It's a wild question that leaves a lot of vagary. And sometimes you're going to get, I don't know. And this is where your ego has to slow down and realize that, like, not every question you're going to get is going to give you a perfect answer, but you may have to ask a follow-up question. You're like, I don't understand what you're asking me. Well, besides money, why would we not do business? We can just narrow it down. Like, sometimes you got to narrow the option down. I'm not a favorite person. My favorite way to not sell is to sell on money. I'm not a big fan of like discounting to get the job or to get the business or to get the deal or to get the arrangement. Right? So what would prevent us from working together? What's preventing us from working together? In your mind, as we take a look at this project, what would stop us from doing the deal? Okay. I'm kind of curious, if you didn't do this, what would be the reason? Like, that's more straightforward. Just kind of curious, if you didn't do this, what would be the reason? And sometimes people are going to be like, well, you got to be the lowest guy in town. Well, it's got to have these features. Well, it's got to be this color. I don't know what you do. I don't know what industry you're in, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, you got to get really good at asking questions or scenario-based questions. And over time, what you want to do is build out a swipe file. Now, a swipe file is just a list of these questions that you could use and go and have a conversation or use them in role play. And sometimes you're like, I wouldn't say it that way. Okay, well then modify it to fit your needs. Just You know what you got to do? You've got one of three things. One of three. Find the subscribe button, click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. 2, hit follow. 3, share this video with a friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.